As stage 6 of the Tour de France began, riders were still counting the cost of the day before on the cobbles. Incidents and problems for Primož Roglič and several others. In the meantime, a huge victory for Israel Premier Tech and Simon Clark, both team and rider taking their first Tour de France success. Wout van Aert was still in the yellow jersey, and his lead was 13 seconds ahead of Nielsen Paulus, with Edvald Boasson-Hagen, Tadej Pogacar and Yves Lampaert still all up there in the top 5. The Tour de France would move to Belgium for the start of stage 6, the longest day of this 109th Tour. 220 kilometres between Binche and Longwy, crossing the border back into France. 2,500 metres of climbing, up and down, left and right all day long. A big tail crosswind forecast for most of the day, with 3 categorised climbs and 1 intermediate sprint. The first visit to Longwy since Peter Sagan won 5 years previous. The stage started with a bang. Wout van Aert in the yellow jersey on the attack incessantly. He'd eventually take Quinn Simmons and Jakob Fuglsang with him, the latter a danger in the general classification. But after 85 kilometres of racing, the peloton desperate to sit up and have a rest. Wout van Aert was almost dropped immediately from the break he helped create. A mechanical problem at the foot of the first climb of the day, thankfully for him, sorted out, whilst Tadej Pogacar started to put his team to work to make sure they kept the gap in check. Van Aert will take the maximum points in the intermediate sprint, strengthening his lead in the green jersey classification. And behind Bora Hansgrohe, EF Education Easy Post and Alpecin de Koenig would start to commit. Not committed at all, not believing in the break. Less than 2 minutes with 66 k's to go and just 24 hours before the first mountain stage, Fuglsang decided to sit up. But with just over 50 kilometres to go, the gap was still 2 minutes. Simmons and Van Aert continued to work, but Simmons would only last until 30 k's to go. Van Aert continuing and holding off for quite a while yet the rest of the peloton. Simmons caught, and increasingly it was becoming a day for the general classification riders as the nerves before the expected chaotic finish continued to build. Van Aert had just less than 30 seconds with 17.5 kilometres to go. By this point, looking like he was going to have little or no chance to take the stage. He was caught, and a few caught out by crashes. Renaud Janssen from Rendsburg ending up at the front. And with 11 kilometres to go, Wout van Aert would be eventually reeled in. Not just reeled in, but immediately spat out the back. Inside the final 10 kilometres, Nielsen Paulus was in pole position to move into the yellow jersey. Alexis Vouillamont attacking on the final classified climb of the day, the penultimate rise of the 4 inside the last 15 kilometres. His teammate Sagan out the back, and Pogacar himself, the 2-time defending champion, put a dig over the top. He then had 2 teammates assembled to do the work for him. Primož Roglič launched an early sprint inside the final 300 metres. Pogacar chased him down. Matthews had survived and was trying to come around. Matthews, good friends with Pogacar, his big mate, able to hang on and win in quite sensational style. A story that will be told down the years after a full gas day, one of the fastest stages in history over this distance at the Tour de France, and won by the rider of his generation, and perhaps all generations. Tadej Pogacar, an absolute phenomenon, and again demonstrating he was the best on the planet at just about anything. The yellow jersey came across 7.5 minutes down, meaning we'd have a new leader. Stage and jersey going to Tadej Pogacar, courtesy of the bonus seconds taken on the line. Pogacar beating Matthews, Gaudu, Pidcock and Quintana on the day. A 7th stage win in his 3-year relationship so far with the Tour de France, and Pogacar moving into the lead of the race as he looks to make it a hat-trick of Tour wins. A check on his gap going into the first mountain stage. Pogacar leading by 4 seconds, courtesy of those bonuses ahead of Paulus. Vingegaard in third with Yates, Pidcock, Thomas, Vlasov, Martinez, Bardet and Gaudu, all in a top 10, separated by just over a minute. 10 years and a day after the first ever trip in Tour history to La Planche des Belles Filles, it's a trip to the Super Planche des Belles Filles, 176.3 kilometres, the first true mountain stage of this Tour de France. A visit to the Vosges, and with Pogacar already in yellow, it's already catch-up time for those hoping to take it off him. A reminder, you can watch the Giro Donne and the Tour de France on GCN+.